Good morning, everyone. I'm Matt Glibbery.
And I'm Jonathan Judal.
And we're actually designers here at SAP. So we're first really excited to have you all here, seeing our space and to be able to share a little of the work that we've done with you. We work on a team within SAP that works externally with our customers. So we spend a lot of time on site, in call centers, in warehouses. And so you can imagine our excitement when this project came along and we had the opportunity to work with the Super Bowl on their fan village called Super Bowl City.
And for those of you who don't know what Super Bowl City is, it was a week-long event that happened prior to Super Bowl 50 in San Francisco. It was a free-to-public space that was meant to really celebrate the milestone of Super Bowl 50, as well as celebrate the city that it was being hosted in, or the area that it was being hosted in, which was, of course, San Francisco Bay Area. Not only that, but it was really meant to provide an opportunity for those beyond the 70,000 people who were actually able to attend the Super Bowl to really experience the festivities of the big game.
Yeah, and so with a long relationship with the NFL and a big presence in Silicon Valley, SAP took this opportunity to sponsor the center activation for Super Bowl City, which was called the Fan Energy Zone. And the Fan Energy Zone consisted of 3 video games that were futuristic takes on what it might be like to play football in the future, or what a football game of the future might be like. And these games leveraged technologies like Kinect, like Oculus, to appeal to people of all ages, people of various interest and knowledge of the game of football. And our job was to think holistically about that experience of being in the Fan Energy Zone, trying to tie together the 3 disparate games into one end-to-end journey that kind of marries the physical experience of being in the space and playing those games with a digital experience inside the Super Bowl 50 app.
So the first task we needed to do was create a stats-driven player card, which people would receive on their mobile phone after playing one of those 3 set games. Besides that, we would also design a leaderboard, and this leaderboard was supposed to show the top performers within each of the 3 games, and this leaderboard would be displayed on a 50-foot by 30-foot screen outside and overlooking this Fan Energy Zone.
And so today, rather than take you through the details of the designs or necessarily how we got there, we really wanted to share with you 2 things that stuck out with us in reflecting on this project that we think most contributed to the success of this work and have most helped us in our projects after this as designers.
And the first takeaway that we learned was really to, at the beginning of each project, always step back and really challenge what is being asked of us to do and really see if it is the correct solution that we need to do to solve these problems.
And the second is really thinking differently about what success means for us, thinking more broadly about what success means for us. In this case, more than any project I've ever worked on, there were so many stakeholders and partners within this ecosystem, and it was really important that we understand how our work fits into all of the things that they're doing.
Yeah. So when we first started designing the player card, knowing that it needs to be stats driven, the first thing that really came to mind that we could relate to would be a sports trading card, or the back of a sports trading card. Typically on the back of a sports trading card, you'd see all the stats of that given player. So with that knowledge, or with that idea, we went ahead and started trying to figure out ways we can visually show these stats and present them to the users. But as we started trying to figure out how the users felt about some of our designs, we quickly realized that the numbers weren't necessarily what interested these potential users. Rather, people wanted something that they could share and show that they were actually at Super Bowl City and just show that they were actually able to participate and play some of these games. One user actually likened it to a ticket stub and keeping it and sharing it with their friends and having be a commemorative piece that they could always say and show that they are actually at that game. So with that, we quickly realized that not only were we designing a stats-driven player card, but we also needed to design a player card that would be shareable and really show and commemorate their time at Super Bowl City, at the Fan Energy Zone, and their participation of playing these specific games.
And so I mentioned that there were a lot of partners involved, both externally and internally within SAP. And these all had different definitions of what success looked like. And so when we took that step back and started to evaluate what is a player card, what could that mean, those goals of the different partners really helped us move forward. And so we spent the first week with representatives from these different organizations trying to understand what they're working on, how that relates to what we're working on, and what success really looks like for them so that we could leverage that within our design work. And just a few quick examples of how that kind of played out. One of the primary goals of the Super Bowl host committee in bringing the Super Bowl to San Francisco is that this, being the 50th Super Bowl, would be the most shared Super Bowl in history. So you can imagine when we took them through that journey of telling them the kind of feedback we were getting on these data-driven player cards, the excitement that they shared when we made that transition to not only data-driven, but also something that focuses on shareability. Similarly, Bright Light developed those 3 games for the Fan Energy Zone, and success for them was really people engaging with those games, people playing more than one game and really being excited to be there. And so we saw some synergies in those 2 goals. So we really gravitated toward this idea that the front of the player card could get more shareable as people played more games or as people performed better. And ultimately that manifests itself in this ranking system so that as you played more games, as you performed better, you would be promoted from a rookie to a Fan Energy Zone Hall of Famer. And then we would broadcast those names on the fan wall.
Yeah. And with this fan wall, or this leaderboard, again, we first started by designing a basic leaderboard that presented the top performers within each of the 3 games. But knowing that, again, this would be a week-long event, we knew that we needed to provide more than just this basic leaderboard. So again, we took a step back and start to think about the different types of goals that stakeholders would want had, and we designed and iterated on more screens for this large screen. Eventually, we created a catalog of 24 different screens that could possibly be displayed on this leaderboard. And when we spoke with the stakeholders, we eventually narrowed it down to 14 main screens that would be displayed on that fan wall.
And so again, taking that step back, what is a leaderboard? What kinds of content could we display on this screen that's going to be broadcasting to a large audience for 16 hours a day? One of the main goals, one of the things that the Super Bowl host committee wanted to reiterate throughout the week is that this isn't the San Francisco Super Bowl, but it really is the San Francisco Bay Area Super Bowl, actually being co-hosted by the Oakland Raiders and the San Francisco 49ers. And so when we were evaluating the data that we have about the people who are playing the games, we realized that we're capturing their county information when we're asking them to register. And so we realized we could use that to create a Bay Area county leaderboard to show that there is participation coming from all areas of the Bay and kind of pit those counties against each other. We could also go a level deeper and highlight the best performers from a given county and also showcase a county in a positive light by bringing to, highlighting a stat that they were better at than any of the other counties. For the NFL, it was all about fans having a positive engagement with their brand and with their teams. And so we realized when we're asking people to register, we're also capturing their favorite teams. And so we created a series of team-based leaderboards where we're allowing fans to be representatives and participate in the success of their teams. We also leveraged existing rivalries from the NFL. So we created these head-to-head leaderboards for the 2 Bay Area teams, as well as the teams that would be participating in the Super Bowl. And then again, with the events company and with the games developer, success for them is really engagement for the people in the fan energy zone. And so we came up with the idea of placing GoPros around the fan energy zone and broadcasting live video onto that fan wall, which would then attract people from other parts of the Super Bowl city. And similarly, we could put that video from the games side by side with real-time scores from the games, again, to show people the fun that the people playing the games are having and really draw people in.
And all in all, over 1 million people actually visited Super Bowl City and participated in the festivities. All 17 Northern California counties were actually present and had participators from their counties there, over 34 different states. And what was not a pretty cool stat was over 17,000 plus game sessions actually occurred throughout that whole week. And when calculated, that actually averaged to about the max number of possible game sessions per day.
And just to end on a personal note for us, in reflecting on the experience of this project, I think we are both lifelong football fans. And so this really was something beyond what we ever could have imagined we might be working on, getting to participate in not only a Super Bowl, but the 50th Super Bowl. And so that was really personally very gratifying. Professionally, this project presented a number of quirks and challenges, like designing for a 50-foot outdoor wall. That was something we'd never done and really learned a lot through that process. And there were a few things that were really, really unique about this project, because so often we design things and then they come to life and they're kind of sent out into the world, but people experience those things in their home, or most often for us, in the workplace. And so we really miss a lot of that kind of first interaction and engagement with this thing that you've created. But in this case, we were there when they assembled the screen and when they first displayed our content. And we got to see people get excited to see their name on the screen and to take photos of the stuff that we'd worked so hard on. We were also there a week later when they disassembled the screen for this work that we'd spent 4 months on, never to see the light of day again. So that was really a wild ride of a week for us. And with that, I think we have maybe a minute or two for questions.
Good.
All right. Yeah. No, the games themselves have lived on. There's an Oculus version that was created that now is part of the fan experience before any 49ers game at the SAP booth. So that game has lived on, but the rest of it was, one week experience. Oh, yep. Yeah, definitely. In developing this game, along the lines of what you're asking for, we looked into making the Kinect is something that a lot of people have at home. Some people have at home. So we looked at packaging this game in a way that over the course of the week, people at home could participate as well. But this model, these games were developed for Super Bowl City for San Francisco Bay Area, but each Super Bowl city at the host city kind of has its own flavor, which represents the the location where it's being presented. So that's why the San Francisco Super Bowl was really technology oriented. The following Super Bowl in Houston they had a space experience where I think you could wear an Oculus and wear an Oculus while riding one of those drop zones as if you were riding a rocket ship. So every Super Bowl kind of takes a different flavor on this experience. Yeah, last question.
Oh, I was just curious about your actual team. Were the two of you like the sort of the UX and visual designers, and then there were others? Like I didn't quite understand.
Yeah, it was just us from the content creation. There were all those other stakeholders involved. So the game developers were kind of their own, they had control over that, and so we're looking to tie those experiences together. Yeah, but I think as the biggest football fans in the office, we were probably screaming the loudest to be picked.
Did you know each other before?
Oh yeah.
Great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.